Welcome, Warriors! Back with another episode of Vigor Warriors 2. Hope you guys are doing well. This is Monday, March 7th, and we have some snow again in the Midwest. And hope you guys are doing well, staying on your purpose, staying on things that you want to achieve and goals. I was able to do a couple over the weekend, so please go ahead and view those. One was on superpowers and making sure that you stay strong. And then yesterday we did one. I'm going to continue to talk on that one a little bit this morning about the monkey trap. Very interesting type of sermon that I heard yesterday that applies a lot to what we're talking about when it comes to our journey and what we're trying to accomplish here. So, and once again, please subscribe, like, comment, donate. I always try to put the donation thing on there. I don't always remember because that's not the first thing in my mind. I'm trying to kind of get these guys out to you. So, but if you do feel like that you want to help, that's wonderful. I always try to use that stuff to try to improve what I'm doing. I'm getting closer to try to get a computer with a webcam, so I'm able to do more stuff, at home and different types of places I'm at, and not have to rely on my phone a lot. So we're kind of getting closer to that as we go along. So anything you do to help with that is wonderful, and I greatly appreciate that. So, and once again, Babba, I appreciate your comment as well. I responded back to you. I didn't really want to focus that much on it. I think that, we all are different in a lot of ways. We are similar in some ways as well, and that's kind of what makes us human beings. But I think the matter of communication is a good topic in many ways. And I give you a lot of credit, Bob. I think that trying to learn languages, trying to learn different types of way to communicate to people is great. But the one thing I have to say is that no one is perfect. No one is going to communicate well. And so a lot of times you may listen to somebody, whether you listen to me or somebody else, and you may be able to understand us well, but then someone else who's speaking the same language, you may struggle with it. This is the same, I think, in all languages, not only our language, and it's something that is really kind of interesting to kind of look at. But it just shows you how different we are, and that we all have to kind of look at our own ways of communicating, ways of getting along with people, and using that to try to better who we are. And so, Babba, I give you a lot of credit. I admire your tenacity and willingness to learn languages, to step up and to do things. And I know you're going to be a great success in anything you do because you have that tenacity, that dedication to become better than you were yesterday. And I think that's the whole thing about life as we talk about it. So I don't want to talk a lot about it because I think it's something personal with Babba. So I appreciate that, Babba, and I did respond back to you, by the way. So too. All right, so let's talk back on this money trap situation a little bit, and kind of focus again on this idea we talked about yesterday. And the idea that is what happens to people is that people tend to start off by having certain needs, and we all do. And you can see this especially when people are lacking something. If they're lacking, food, water, it goes back to what we call the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And that goes back to the idea that people need certain things to live. We need certain things like food and water. We need to have things within ourselves that allow us to go on living. We obviously need to breathe, we need to live, and if we want to have children, obviously we need to have, be able to procreate and those type of things. Those type of things are really important. And those are things that if we don't have, we go out and search for. Now, there is a line that occurs between what happens as a need and then what happens as a want. And this is what we're talking about with the monkey trap. That at some level, people kind of move past, well, I need this, and they kind of talk themselves into creating a want from a need. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, yes, you need food, but do you need a 3-course meal? No. In fact, a lot of people become gluttonous because they eat too much. They eat too much and they become too heavy and weigh 300 pounds, 400 pounds because they just keep eating. And it becomes a want, not a need. And I think there's a big difference with that. Yes, we need water, but do you need to drink alcohol all the time? No, of course not. But what ends up happening is that we all of a sudden get to this point where for some reason we get addicted and we want higher levels of these things, and now they become more of a want, than a need. And I think that's a good way to kind of look at our situation with retention as well. This is just another one of those areas that people fall into that they struggle because they can't control the obviously created want that they have. I mean, at first they look at things and say, okay, this is a need. I need to go ahead and have this. But at some level, the need then switches to, okay, I like this. Let's continue to do this. And now that I'm satiated, which means that, I'm fulfilled, I'm going to keep doing it because it's something that gives me some happiness, maybe some short-term pleasure or something like that. So when you look at all this, you're looking at the situation saying, okay, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I have enough food, enough water, enough of these type of things to make sure that I'm satisfied. And it becomes a satisfaction type of thing, not a need. And there's a big difference between the two. And so as we look at this is the key thing to kind of look at, my friends, in looking to see how well can you go ahead and really fill your needs up and not go into the area of wants. And I think that's the whole challenge that we face every day that we get up in the morning. And no matter if you're at closing in on 650 days, no FAP, or you're just starting off in week 1 or week 2, you're basically having the same sort of discussion every day. At what level do I want to have enough discipline just to have the needs that I have and not the wants? I was having a good conversation with my son-in-law this weekend, talking about wants and needs, and they are doing pretty well for themselves, and that's a very high blessing and great thing. And we're just talking about the fact that a lot of people who have wealth and riches are not necessarily happy because it's not the money that makes the difference. It's never really about the money. It's more about the fact that you're doing things successfully, that you're happy with what you're doing, and the money comes from that. But the things you buy for the money are not things that are really going to sustain or be with you for any period of time. In fact, what they can do is, put you in that cage and put you in that situation where now you have higher wants all the time. So I want this, and then I want that, and I want that, and all of a sudden now you're kind of lost in this thing. Well, I can't stop what I'm doing. And this is where the addiction comes in. That obviously if I start gambling, and it's nice to go have fun, at first, and say, okay, I want to go gamble, and we may spend $15, $20, no big deal. And I should say it's a big deal to some people, of course, but it's not a big deal to some other people. And they go and spend the $10, $15, and they gamble it away or something. And they had fun doing it, so they figure, well, this is worth it. Well, if they're not very careful, and they're not controlling that want as compared to the need, well, then all of a sudden they become a lot more willing to say, okay, let's go do that again, and then say, oh, well, let's go ahead and do more next time, and we'll do more and more and more. And they can't really stop themselves. And you know this, if you can't stop yourself within the first couple days of something, you know it's kind of grabbed hold of you. And that's where we see the difference between the wants and the needs. So this monkey trap is really an interesting type of thing, because what you end up doing, even though it looks good, it has the trappings of just like the monkey, who can't open up their basic hand to let their hand out of the coconut. What they're doing is keeping their hand in because they want to grab this thing more and more, and they want more and more, and all of a sudden now they get caught, and now they're now in trouble. Okay, and this is what happens a lot of times that people and animals and everybody else, they kind of go for the greed. They want more and more and more, and they end up putting themselves into a bad situation because of it. Now, of course, as I said yesterday, I'm not really, I love animals, and so I'm not really kind of saying it in a negative way about a monkey, but it just is an analogy of something that happens to us all the time. We tend to kind of look to see, okay, what is in this coconut? Let's go ahead and grab that, and we're going to go ahead and see what I can grab and keep grabbing. And all the monkey had to do, all we had to do, is open our hands to come out. We can stop anytime we want to. Excuse me. We can stop anytime we want to. The same thing happens early on with pornography. You start looking at pictures, you should be able to say, okay, I can stop this, and you may stop this, but now you have that urge, just like the monkey, just like the trap, is to go back and put your hand in for some more, or get to the point where you're putting yourself in for looking at some more pictures or doing some more things with people. And all of a sudden now it becomes even stronger and stronger, the urge, after you stop it. And I remember one time that I was going through this, I actually was able to measure the differences between the time periods, and they became shorter and shorter. The urge you have to go back and do this becomes stronger and stronger instead of weaker and weaker. And this is really a matter of habits. Human beings are based in habits. And the habits that we form are either good or bad for us as we go along. And people who smoke and drink and these type of things, they know that. And this is why fasting or some other types of things is very good for you, because it breaks the cycle of the habits you're into. So if you're in the habit of eating a lot over the weekend, and that's what I did this weekend, now I'm going to fast for a couple days, but it's very, very difficult. As you're breaking away from the habit. And as human beings, we like order, and we like to have habits. And so as a habit, we're not going to let go of this thing. We're going to go ahead and continue to cultivate the next step of the process with this thing we're dealing with. And all of a sudden now we get ourselves caught in a trap, and we can't really get out of it, and it becomes stronger and stronger. It's almost like it has its tentacles on you, and now it's grabbing hold of you, and now you got to fight even harder the next time to get done with it. And this is what happens all the time. And until you kind of break away from it, totally, which, I don't think a person, it takes a long time to do that. If it took me 45 years to change, to start trying to overcome what I'm doing, well then of course it's not going to just take 600 days. It's going to be a lot longer for me to actually be able to conquer this. And in the back of my mind, this is something I'm always aware of, right? That you have to be careful of situations to make sure you're not falling back into patterns that you want to avoid. I have a lot of yawning today, my friends. Sorry about that. And so this is why I say that when you look at this, you want to make sure that you're going ahead and really kind of following the goals, the ideas, and things that you want, and not the things that are the opposite. This is why you have to make sure you're always very strong on your purpose. What I mean by purpose then we mean that you're going to stick to your guns and you're not going to create habits that are outside of your goals, setting your goals, and achieving those goals. You don't want to get the opposite types of behaviors out. This way you're able to control those and kind of move on. So, all right, my friends, well, enough of this today. I think that it's wonderful to kind of talk with you every day, and hopefully we'll be able to kind of look at other areas that are interested, very similar to this. I love this sermon that I heard on Sunday, and I think it has a lot to deal with our needs and wants. And the key thing is always remember that you're always trying to lessen the amounts of wants. I think Epictetus said this. You want to lessen the amount of wants and just satisfy your needs, basic needs. So, all right, guys, have a great day today, and battle on.